We are now in the second quarter of the NFL fantasy football season in 2023, and as the season goes every single year, it's harder to find quality waiver wire pickups as the season goes along. People are going to start to reach around this time of the season, and this is really the first week I think that people are just going to be reaching on waiver wire ads. I think a lot of these guys are fool's gold in this week's waiver wire. So we're going to go through some of the top waiver wire options available for week 5 fantasy football and why I think a lot of these guys are just simply fool's gold right now and that you need to let your league mates go ahead and grab these guys. And we are giving away more FFN white hats this week. All I need you to do is go down there in the comments, give me your hottest take for week 5 fantasy football for a chance to win this hat. We're giving away 5 of these hats for this week just because we hit 5,000 subscribers. We have you to thank for it, and I need your help hitting 6,000 subscribers. So go down there, drop a like on this video, and subscribe to the channel to show your support. I really appreciate the support. So let's go ahead and just dive into these guys, shall we? So, like I said, I think a lot of these guys, to be honest with you, are just gonna be swings that people are gonna make just because they feel like they have to make a move. And the first guy on the list is just the prime example of that. It's Jalil McKinnon, running back for the Denver Broncos this week, less than 1% rostered. Like, nobody knew who this guy was until week 4. Nobody knew who this guy was. And I've been saying this one for weeks. Javonte Williams is the clear running back 1 in this Denver Broncos offense. Now, that can be disputed on the surface level if you just look at that after week 4. I mean, Jalil McKinnon outtouched Javonte Williams in week 4. That's the reality of what just happened. But the problem is with this one is that Javonte Williams got hurt in that game. He suffered a hip flexor injury, which, by the way, is not expected to be a long-term injury. So Javonte Williams could be back out there as soon as week 5. And it's not like Jalil McKinnon went off for like 20 carries. This guy had 7 carries in this game. So we're not talking about a guy that's all of a sudden broke out and was this 15 to 20 touch guy this week. That's not what happened in the least. The offense is significantly imbalanced right now as well. Like, Javonte Williams himself can't get anything going. Jalil McKinnon had a flash in the pan this week. Averaged 10 yards per carry this past week and had a 17.5 fantasy point game. I mean, this is a situation where you look at the numbers with Denver and they're just not a balanced offense right now. So you can't trust that a running back in Denver is going to be some stud in fantasy football. If any of them are going to be good, it's going to be Javonte Williams still, because the reality with Jalil McKinnon is there's really just no upside there. Even if Javonte Williams is out, as imbalanced as this offense is, there just simply isn't upside here. So moving on to our next guy here, Braxton Berrios of the Miami Dolphins is he's like the definition of fool's gold to me. Because here's the thing about Braxton Berrios. Like, I actually like the player that he is. He's the type of wide receiver I would see myself getting if I was like an NFL GM or a head coach. Like, I would like that type of guy. And if he was on an offense, like, for example, Carolina, where they don't have a clear wide receiver 1 outside of Adam Thielen, but they don't have like any big playmakers, he would have more upside in a Carolina Panthers offense. But that's not his reality. Obviously, the Miami Dolphins offense is elite. They had a bad week last week against the Buffalo Bills, but that's not who they are. They're an elite offense. And Braxton Berrios had 6 targets in that game. High-flying offense, 6 targets. A lot of people are going to be looking at this 1.9% rostered and be like, why would I not take a shot on this guy? Here's the thing about this one. He's not a big play threat. And I'll explain that because obviously he scored a touchdown in this game against Buffalo. So a lot of people are like, well, what are you talking about? The thing about him is this was a like 10-yard touchdown catch. And if you could see it on the screen, he had 6 catches for 43 yards, 14 fantasy points. This guy is so similar to like a Hunter Renfrow. Hunter Renfrow in Las Vegas is so similar to Braxton Berrios, similar to Josh Downs and what he's doing in Indianapolis right now. Essentially what Buffalo did this past week against the Miami Dolphins was that they were so good defensively, not only getting after Tua in the pocket, but also they were clamping down on Tyreek Hill specifically. Tyreek Hill was not able to get open at all on that Sunday game. And Jalen Waddle wasn't very good either. Jalen Waddle wasn't open much either. So a lot of this was leading to Braxton Berrios just being wide open. And to be clear, Buffalo was missing a ton of secondary pieces. So all of their resources were going towards stopping their 2 biggest threats. Of course, Braxton Berrios is going to be left open. Of course, he's going to have opportunities in a game script like that. The long-term upside just isn't here because, one, he's just not that good of a player as far as big play performance is, and two, because the offense is just not going to lean on him moving forward like that. That's not going to be his reality every week. And the point of waiver wire guys in the first place is you're going for the upside. That's the mentality that I send over to you guys through this channel. We're playing fantasy football to win, and we don't win by taking little swings like this. This is a little swing that you can let your league mates take because the upside is what we're shooting for, and the upside is not there with Braxton Berrios. Number 3, our next guy on the list that I think is just fool's gold as well, it's Allen Lazard of the New York Jets. Now, here's the thing. He's about 26% rostered right now. He's got the name recognition, and I've been saying this for weeks about Allen Lazard. I've been saying for weeks that this is a guy that can be dropped. Like, it's unfortunate, but his reality is that he can absolutely be dropped. And then, of course, he has a good week in week 4. He goes off for a couple big plays, and he gets a touchdown in the game. 13.5 fantasy points per game, basically. But here's the thing about this one, and this is really depressing, honestly. If Aaron Rodgers was there, like, this would be a different story. First of all, I don't think Allen Lazard would be on many waiver wires. But if he was, I would be saying, yeah, go pick up Allen Lazard. The dude's going to get consistent targets, and he's going to have upside because his quarterback is good. But that's not his reality. Zach Wilson played so over his head this past weekend. He played so over his head against the Kansas City Chiefs, no less. We've never seen Zach Wilson play like that in the NFL, and it wasn't like he was super great. Like, this is not a situation where Zach Wilson just had this breakout game, and now we're rethinking if he's actually a good quarterback. No, he still made lots of mistakes in this game. This is a guy that played way over his head this week, and it's not going to be sustainable. It's just not going to be. So that makes Allen Lazard's reality a wide receiver 2 behind Garrett Wilson on his own team with a Zach Wilson-led offense. That's the reality here. And even if Trevor Siemian, the quarterback that they just signed last week, even if he's the starter next week and moving forward, the upside is just simply not there. It's too low, even for Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson still can't get consistent fantasy production as the wide receiver 1 in this offense. So the wide receiver 2 in this offense is just simply not going to have upside. Let someone else get fooled by this one because I guarantee you with the name recognition at the week that he had, there will be people who will be bidding for Allen Lazard this week. Our next guy up here, this one's kind of obvious, but I just feel like I have to say it. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine of the Tennessee Titans. Less than 1% rostered. Nobody's really going to go hard after this guy right here. And it's honestly a similar situation to Allen Lazard. Like, if you put Nick Westbrook-Ikhine on an offense like Miami, and they didn't have Jalen Waddle, or even if they did, like, I could see some people saying, yeah, the upside seems pretty good. The offense is pretty good. I would understand that, but this is a Tennessee Titans offense that is led by Ryan Tannehill. Not as bad as Zach Wilson, but still pretty bad. Still pretty bad. And honestly, we've seen, like, his week 4 performance. You can see it on the screen right now. It's nothing special, but, I mean, again, he did score a touchdown in this game. And on the waiver wire right now, like I said, it's getting pretty scarce. We're in week 5, and there's not a ton of guys left on the waiver wire. But here's the thing. Like, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, this is not the first time over the past several years that he's gone off and had a good game. Like, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine has consistently popped up year after year after year, having a couple good games per season. That's in his nature. He's not a consistent guy, though. That's not who he is. And it's not like he's the next big thing. Like, this is not a situation where we're saying, this guy's breaking out. Like, his time is coming. It's not like that with Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. The upside long-term is just simply not there for him. Our next guy here is probably going to be one of the most waiver wire prize pickups of the week if he's on your waiver wire. He's over 50% rostered, and I don't usually include guys who are over 50% rostered, but I find it necessary here because I think that he'll be 90% rostered by the end of the week. It's Cole Kmet of the Chicago Bears. Here's the thing. Obviously, the tight end position is way different in fantasy football. Most everybody, unless you had Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, TJ Hawkinson, Sam Laporta. If you got lucky with Sam Laporta, you're not in this category, but most people are searching for answers every single week at the tight end position. And I'll say this, like, Cole Kmet, I think, is going to have top half upside at the tight end position for the rest of the season. But, like, that's not like a different opinion. I've held that opinion really since early offseason. We know that Cole Kmet can have games like this. Cole Kmet did this type of stuff last year. Like, the guy is definitely capable of hitting some big games for you. He did it last year and he did it again in week 5. And the thing about this is I actually think that he's a worthy waiver wire pickup this week. I don't think that you shouldn't place any bids on him. But here's what I wouldn't do. I would not drop $20 fab on Cole Kmet. I wouldn't even drop $10 fab on Cole Kmet, because here's what's going to happen. He's going to flop again. He'll flop and give you a 3-point game in fantasy football. And the tight end that some people thought was going to be their tight end answer moving forward, yeah, he'll continue to flop for him. And then he's going to get dropped again in your waiver wire by whoever picked him up. That's what's going to happen here, because the tight end position, like we said, is constantly changing. It's constantly changing. There's always someone new who comes up, has a good week. That's why streaming tight ends is a big deal. And that's why you should never put in a big investment on a tight end off of the waiver wire right now. This is simply just about being smart and having some long-term vision here and not wasting your fab right here, because he's just not worth much. He's a tight end on the waiver wire. Like I said, 50%, over 50% of leagues he's rostered in, so he's not on every waiver wire. But if he is on your waiver wire, remember this. Chicago's offense is awful. Like, their offense is so bad, and they played good against the Denver Broncos because Denver has a horrendous defense. Absolutely horrendous. If you don't get him, you're going to have another shot. You will, because he's going to flop for someone, and they will drop him again. Don't overpay for Cole Kmet. This is just not a smart move to do. Our last guy on the list is Curtis Samuel of the Washington Commanders. He's about 13% rostered right now. So this one is not new. In fact, I think Curtis Samuel is fool's gold off the waiver wire every single year. This is exactly what he does on a yearly basis right here. He's got at least one good game per year where he pops and everyone's like, oh man, I forgot about Curtis Samuel. He's actually a pretty good player. This never lasts for Curtis Samuel. It never lasts, man. And it's no different this year. He had 8 targets week 4, and he snuck in for a 1-yard touchdown run in week 4. Without that touchdown run, not a great week. We're not talking about him right now if that happens. Washington played over their head this week against the Eagles. That's their reality. They did not have any business hanging around that game as long as they did. They put up over 30 points on the Philadelphia Eagles defense. Very impressive, but this is not going to last for the season. Like, again, the point of waiver wire additions, guys, is going for upside. You want to see who's got the best longer-term upside, and that dictates what you do on the waiver wire. Samuels is not worth a dime, because the Washington Commanders will soon not be a contender in this league, and they will soon be irrelevant, and Curtis Samuel will be irrelevant as a result. Really, I think the only guy who's worth a waiver wire pickup, aside from Cole Kmet, is going to be CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud, to me, is worth a pickup for sure. This is a guy that I didn't have much hope for in the offseason heading into the season. Rookie head coach, rookie quarterback, not a great team overall. CJ Stroud has been super impressive, and I think it will last. The guy looks really poised in the pocket. The offensive line's protecting him for the most part. CJ Stroud has got some good receivers as well. Tank Dell, Nico Collins having a good week again this week. I think that CJ Stroud, honestly, the beauty about this is that quarterbacks like this are not going to be expensive off the waiver wire. You can get away with sending in a $4 bid or a $6 bid and get CJ Stroud. That's the type of move I would make, especially if you're struggling at the quarterback position. So let me know what you think of the waiver wire this week in the comments below, and what questions you need answered before week 5 fantasy football. And if you want to see some buy low trade targets to get before week 5 fantasy football, click on this video right here.